Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Intentional Academy podcast. We're recording live. We stream now on twitch.tv/Intentional Academy. We're also streaming right now via Instagram, just via my profile, which is at the Tony Farrar. So come hang out with us. We do this almost every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock in the evening, Eastern Time. And we answer questions live that come in from the comments, but we also have some that people have left us. So just quick introductions. I'm Tony Farrar.
I'm Nicole Farrar.
I am debt free. No,
What?
Justin Thomas.
That's how you should introduce yourself from now on. Always.
Absolutely. That's
I
why
am
we're
Justin
celebrating.
Thomas.
And so tonight we are doing a very special show because, as Justin just told you, he has finished paying off every last debt. And I should say his family, is
Correct.
100% debt free, which
Okay.
huge milestone. I'm raising my
Yep. Cheers.
celebratory beverage in your honor, sir.
My
Congratulations.
water.
Celebratory pumpkin beer.
There you go.
Really?
All right. So this is very timely, dude. I don't know if you did this on purpose, but we're right about the month where anybody that graduated in May is going to get their first student loan bill coming out of deferment.
That's right.
And it's time for them to start getting serious. So this is like perfect timing, man.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into anybody else, let's talk about you.
Great.
So
Let's do it.
start with yeah, right? This is the Justin show.
Yeah.
Start with the bragging at the beginning. What are the stats? Tell us the story here.
All right. Well, I made a special picture for this. Let's put this up. So there
All
it
right.
is.
Yay! I like
The
this picture.
yeah, one of the most important, if not the most important people in my family are showing off her stats.
There you go.
Paid off $49,287.36 in 15 months.
What?
Pretty awesome.
Absolutely. And we got a little bit of
48,000
party stuff there too.
Wow,
What's
man.
kind of crazy is that sort of followed what we did timing wise, right?
Mhm.
Almost a year and a half, and it took us like almost 3.
Yep.
Ours was almost double.
Mhm.
It's about right.
You guys
So
were harder core. We
I don't
were
know.
pretty hardcore, but you guys were hardcore.
We had
Why don't we
Irrelevant.
hear about what
Yeah.
happened 15 months ago that something clicked, something changed. What was that?
You guys started having super success, and I went, wow, maybe this thing actually works. Dead serious.
Okay.
Because I was skeptical. I'm dead serious. I would talk with another friend about, man, they're kind of weird. They're literally not doing anything, and this sounds like their life sucks. And then
Yeah.
things started happening, and the ball started rolling, and debt started shedding, and I'm like, man, these monthly payments suck. Good
Mm.
Lord, what do we got to do? Talk the wife off the cliff because we definitely have money to pay our bills this month. And people get weird when you talk about like income and things, so we don't have to necessarily talk about levels of income, but at the same instance, we should not be worried, and we were.
Wow.
Like, there's no reason for us to be worried. So,
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just basic information of a 2-family income right there is a huge factor. I mean, I'm not bringing any income right now because I'm staying home with Luke.
So yeah, we
You know?
we got monthly paymented. We decided to put new doors in the house, and as soon as we put new really nice new doors in the house and
Mhm.
zero interest finance that, the AC crapped out.
Mm.
Well, we had to fix the AC. $16,000 later there. Then we had, we're still paying off my car, and the student loans still existed, and credit card payments on both me and Stacy, and everything just started creeping.
Right.
Yeah.
We're like, this is ridiculous.
And so you wake up and you realize that's not quite how you want to play anymore. What was the conversation like with you and Stacy?
She started it.
Really?
Yeah, she said, I bought Financial Peace University. You know what?
Uh-huh.
We always joke about, asking for royalties and things like that. You know what? I don't care. We bought Financial Peace University. Dave Ramsey pulled us out of debt.
Mm.
So I'm not asking anything from him. He did it for us.
It's
Well-
really great that you guys were on the same page. It's a huge factor.
So
Yeah, I think a lot of couples can struggle with that, so it's really awesome.
Yeah.
So you buckle down. You buckled down 15 months ago. What was the first one that went?
what was the first? We were still. Quick story. When we got engaged, I wasn't making very much money.
Mhm.
And you know the story of how much you're supposed to spend on a ring and everything. Well, I wasn't comfortable with that. And I bought what I can afford a monthly payment for the financing they gave me.
Mm.
And I felt really guilty because the next month I totally didn't realize I got a massive raise. And I felt really bad. And Stacy knew it. She knew it. Everything like that's fine. So we decided once we moved in and we went to our new jeweler here, we were going to upgrade our ring. We got a really good deal, things like that. But, you know, interest-free financing, all that stuff. So we were still paying on the upgrade to her engagement ring. So that was the first thing that went.
Mm.
Then it was my student loan. And then it was my credit card. And then it was like we were still paying on furniture for
Mm.
when we moved in, doors, HVAC, 2 credit cards.
What were the credit cards? Just curious. Was it anything major, or was it just kind of living stuff?
It was probably
Always
between us both. It was about $30,000 in credit cards.
Oh my goodness.
But
Well-
consisting of random stuff, or was it? You know what I mean?
It was just us buying crap.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not. Yeah, it was us buying crap, and then putting daycare on it too because we weren't
Mhm.
sure if we were going to have enough money left over to pay
Mhm.
enough. So
There's a moment that'll take your breath out.
And that's kind of scary too, because that sneaks up on you. You have to make that decision right then.
Right.
But then it's just lumped in with everything else. So you're like, well, you know.
Wow. Well,
you're-
kudos to you,
yeah.
man. So tell me, you know, a lot of people don't know the plan that we kind of advocate here. How'd you decide how to do this? Like, what was the order that you paid in? How did that all work?
well, there's a pretty set plan, and it's very easy to understand. Smallest to largest, without any worry about interest rates.
Mm.
So you start with your smallest balance, and you just snowball it. You pay off the smallest balance, and that little bit adds to the next payment that you're making, and that little bit adds to the next payment you're making, and then all of a sudden you're making multiple $1,000 payments on that last big thing until it's gone.
Mhm.
Wow. That's wild. So basically, you just listed them in order. You didn't care about interest rates at all?
Didn't care about interest rates at all because we had a plan to get it done within 12 to 15 months. That money, we're talking negligible dollars.
Mhm.
And at the same instance, you got that snowball effect that helps you make bigger and bigger payments. It's well worth it to get the smaller stuff out of the way to make bigger payments on the bigger stuff.
I see. So basically, all you have to do now is find a little bit of extra money one month to put towards the tiny debt and pay the minimums on everything else.
Pretty much, you set your budget. You make sure that you've got food to eat. You can get to your job. You've got a roof over your head, and your insurance is paid. And once you have those, then you take as much money as you can and you start throwing it at your debt. And the first things you have to do is make your minimum payments.
Okay.
Mhm.
Then the rest of that money that's left over onto the smallest debt.
Wow.
Pay that off, and then all of a sudden, what you were paying required per month plus the extra now goes to the next one plus that's required amount, and it just that's why they call it a snowball, because as the snowball rolls down here, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
I think what's really interesting about what you said and should be taken away when people listen here is that they're afraid to start the smallest because of the varying interest rate. But you mentioned having a plan to get it done quickly. And so those interest rates don't matter as much when you're really attacking it. And like you said, that snowball effect allows you to make bigger and bigger payments. And so you almost catch up by the time you get to that large, the largest debt, regardless of the interest rate. And
Yeah,
I think that scares people away sometimes,
Absolutely.
feeling like they gotta get that done first.
So the basis of all of this, and
Mhm.
forever from the lowest income levels to multimillionaire, is you have to have a written visual budget. That is
Mhm.
your roadmap to success. It literally shows you the amount of money they have earmarked for every required expense and even some
Mhm.
fun stuff.
Right.
Don't make it sound like we were literally eating like canned tuna fish and and sitting on the floor with all the lights off.
Right.
We still had some cable stuff. We still had our internet things. Each of us had fun budgets. Even my daughter had a budget.
Hmm.
Things like that. We had little money. We had a little bit of restaurant money. We didn't live in squalor,
Yeah.
but we definitely cut back on the grandiose.
What was the thing you said goodbye to temporarily that was the hardest? I love that you're having trouble thinking of this, by the way, because one of the things that happened to us was we put down a lot of things when we first went into getting rid of our debt, and most of them we haven't picked back up because what we realized is we can afford them now,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't make us happy to spend the money on them. And so a lot of it I can't really even list. The big one that I do remember is that I used to eat out lunch every day,
Yes.
and now the idea of eating out lunch every day no longer brings me joy.
Mhm.
I would rather take that money and put it in a fund so I can go on a climbing trip or
Mhm.
whatever. Like, there's just other places I'd rather
Or-
spend that same money.
Or go to like one really good dinner, like
Yeah.
go out,
Take you out for a
instead
nice
of
date.
eating like
So we didn't have like, I mean, yeah. So when I was at my old job, I went out every day. The new job with the commute, eating at my
Mhm.
desk is beneficial because I can eat and work and not have to take time off. I
Mhm.
think the biggest thing was that we had to stop making impulse purchases. We would just go on Amazon and just buy whatever we want. Oh yeah, that sounds cool. Let's get that. Oh yeah, I mean we had packages, the boxes just on the steps every day. We're looking for stuff in the mail, like it's just showing up. Clothes, shoes, books, equipment, audio stuff for computers,
just see something you
DVDs.
like and go, oh, okay.
Yeah. And we had like a thing was like, oh, we didn't hit a certain threshold on the one credit card that we didn't carry a balance on every month. It was like, oh, we did good this month. We didn't hit X amount of dollars on that one because we paid it off every month. And that was like the guide. It was ridiculous.
Right. Right. Wow. Well done, man. What were the numbers one more time?
Right at $50,000 in 15 months.
Unbelievable. I mean, we can do some division there. That's a lot to scare out of your budget. I think maybe two tips that I like to pass on real quick, just in relation to that. Number one is that the way to make a budget that actually works is to start over every month. We actually sit down once a month and rework a budget that works for that month because guess what? Every month's different and the expenses change. And this month we've got a trip, and next month next month is
Christmas,
Thanksgiving.
yeah,
We got
Thanksgiving.
Christmas isn't exactly a surprise. I can
Birthdays.
tell you. Yeah. And so
Birthdays.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Tommy's
that's right.
birthday was on Monday.
What you turned 45, right?
That's it. 45. We'll go with that. I'm reaching my Iron Man phase where
There you
I'm
go.
resuming, the upward trend in attractiveness. I'm feeling good about myself. But, it's just really important to give yourself permission to just nuke the budget and start over every month because one month you're going to spend more on fun than another, and that's okay. And for us, what it was every month our goal was to leave the last line item, which is the debt payment. We want to leave that as big as possible by saving money in our budget for it. I had a second thing. It's evaporated. Oh no, I want the interest rate thing. I want to double back on that for half a second.
Mm-hmm.
I was working with somebody the other day on their budget, and we did the calculation on this.
Okay.
And if they switched orders and paid highest interest rate first,
Okay.
it worked out to be like one extra nice dinner a year. Like if you wanted to go out on a date,
Sure.
it was like they'd save in interest enough to go out on a date one extra time per year. Like
Yeah,
almost
it's just not
negligible,
that much. Yeah.
negligible difference when it comes to the numbers. but the motivation that you get when you see that first one crushed and gone,
Yeah, the mental.
you know, every time that snowball gets bigger,
Mhm.
you feel more empowered
Mhm.
and it accelerates.
Yeah, on that app, when you make that last payment, you get
Mhm.
to delete that line.
Ooh, that
You're
feels
like,
good.
It's awesome. Yeah.
If
So-
you're like one of those people that has checklists and you like to check things off.
All right, Justin, the
That
nerd,
feeling.
the numbers guy here. Did you nerd out a little bit? Did you make a prediction?
We did.
Which direction did you go in the prediction?
We were a month and a half off.
In which way?
Took us a month and a half longer, but in that same instance, we've had things break. We've taken a couple of trips. Our house got diagnosed with termites. It's like house cancer, so we had to make a remediation payment for that in
Right.
cash. Like
What
it was so
oh,
funny.
Tell
Here
me
you go,
that
Tony.
story.
We got ants, and we're like, you know what? I'm done with the ants. It's freaking ridiculous. Let's get this stuff out of here. So we have a pest guy come out, and the pest guy's looking around and doing the general remediation thing. It's like, oh, hey, guess what, guys? You have termites. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Brought him with him, I'm sure of it. Conspiracy.
He definitely implanted them. So
Gets conviction
luckily they had just started digging, if you will, and there was no wood. Nothing wooden on the structure had been eaten. So he goes, okay, well, we'll do the general pest control, and then you have to have termite remediation. It's like, that's going to be $2,300. And I sort of went, okay. And he was like, we have interest-free financing for like 16 months. I was like, no. I'm writing you a check, or do you take like debit?
Right.
And he was like, really? I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm not. No, we don't finance anymore. We're done. We don't have credit cards. We have a debit card and checkbooks. I'll go to the bank and get you cash if that's what you need. Like,
Unbelievable.
and bam, right there. He was like, okay. And I started to explain to him what we had done, and he sort of was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
The thing that I love about all of that too is when you get on this plan and you're used to it and you understand it, like you're saying, you're constantly thinking big picture.
Right.
And so, Justin, you said you were like a month and a half past what you originally predicted, but who cares when you recognize it's because of termites or whatever
Right.
it is, you know what I mean? For Tony and I, if it's like, hey, once in a lifetime trip opportunity, you know,
Or busted car.
or yeah, well,
That-
whatever.
you know
the
what, you make a
whatever the
point.
situation. No, I said trip opportunity for a reason. If something does come up, I mean, we know it appeared to a lot of people as though we stopped living, but that's not true. You know, we made a conscious choice and said, okay, if we decide to spend this money to do this thing that is once in a lifetime, you can't continue to impulse buy or make excuses, but you do this one thing, and you're like, okay, that's going to set me back a month. I can live with that. You know,
I want to make 2 comments on that, Nicole. One,
Yeah.
I forgot that I purchased a set of tires for an SUV.
Mm.
I purchased 2 tires that had to be a replacement on the other SUV. Both SUVs had their air conditioning go out, and I had to change a radiator in the other SUV, all in cash. All in cash.
Oh,
So that's one.
Yeah.
2
wow.
is you want to talk about vacationing on a budget? Please write a small book on your cross-country car trek, camping, just like living it up and literally spending like almost zero cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do
Well,
that.
I'll definitely do that because we had a really good time making that trip possible.
Yeah.
That was the baby moon before Luke,
But-
right?
The U.S. road trip,
Yeah, was that with Luke or?
That was my doctor.
that was when
man.
Tony graduated.
That's right, but you were paying off debt at that point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we were already on the budgeting plan by then and had kind of saved up a bunch beforehand and hotel points, and we had a plan.
Yep.
But that's the thing, we had a plan, you know,
Yeah.
and that was that's a perfect once in a lifetime opportunity for
Mhm.
us. You know, Tony was graduating in a weird time because of when he defended. It was in the middle of the semester, you know, February. He was done and needed to be back for graduation in May. Started a new job in a completely different state where we were moving.
Hmm.
When are you ever going to get 4 months in between responsibilities? You know, I had to quit my job because we were moving out of state. So I was like, we got to take advantage of this.
Oh, don't let it sound like they went on credit cards. This was all paid in cash.
Oh yeah.
They didn't finance a single bit of that.
No.
And some of the
No, but we
stories
planned.
of where they slept and what they ate and things
I was
like
gonna-
that is pretty great.
I was gonna say you're a special type of person to do all the things that we may have done. Anyway, we weren't staying at
Where
the
are we
Ritz
sleeping
Carlton.
tonight? I don't know. Just drive that way into the woods far enough and pitch the tent.
That happened a
Yeah.
couple times.
Well,
You know?
turn this back on you
Anyhow.
one more time, Justin. I just got to say, well done. Congratulations, man. That must feel incredible.
It's great.
And now,
We are so proud of you.
a fun
we
thing
brought
we can
you
say.
over.
Yeah, right. Well, officially now,
Mhm.
everybody that is quote unquote employed at the Intentional Academy would be employed if there were money flowing, but there isn't. And so all the participants of the Intentional Academy are 100% debt free.
Including the
pretty wild.
business. Including.
Yeah, including the business. Yeah, this is a zero debt business as well,
Mhm.
or it will be when it starts flowing cash. How about that? Right now, it's a zero debt hobby.
We gotta get somebody to like pay us $1 and
Right.
say,
So I'm gonna get all proverbial for half a second on you guys.
I'm gonna get some water.
I love the story of Roger Bannister, who's the first person who ever broke the 5-minute mile. And the thing that's interesting to me about it is that for, the entirety of human history, this was never a thing. Nobody ever broke a 5-minute mile. And then all of a sudden in, I don't know, the 50s, the 60s, 40s, somewhere in that time frame, mid 1900s, Roger Bannister breaks a 5-minute mile. And the next thing you know, all these people start repeating it. Within a year, somebody else did it. Within a decade, something like 24 people had done it. And it occurs to me that when you see a thing as impossible, it is. But when somebody else demonstrates that it can be done, that's when a lot of people realize, oh, wait, no, this is actually possible. And so all these people that followed in Bannister's footsteps, they saw him do it and thought, yep, it's no longer a barrier. We can do this. And the thing that's interesting to me is they probably could have done it beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Justin, thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for giving us an opportunity to retell a bit of our story. The reason that we're sharing this is that the 5-minute mile has been broken and anybody can do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to look different for everybody. It's going to take a different amount of time for everybody,
Yep.
But it will eventually go. And so, well done again, man. This is just super cool.
And it will feel incredible, right, Justin?
Absolutely. Because
Because
I
now-
am ready to start contributing back to my retirement again.
Well, now all that money that you were spending on monthly payments and debt payments is free again.
Well, and we know exactly how much that is, and it's like, oh yeah.
And you're like, wow.
Margin's a nice thing to have, ain't it?
Absolutely. We already have a trip planned. We're going to Gatlinburg for Thanksgiving and celebrating our anniversary and my daughter's birthday, and it's going to be just us three, no extra family, no stressful dinners. It's us, and it's going to be amazing.
Completely cash flow.
Absolutely.
Which is the only way to vacation because it feels so good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, by the way, yeah, because then you've run. I've been on plenty of vacations where I felt guilty every time that card came out.
Yep.
Mhm.
Now it's like, oh no, we planned for this. We can use that. Go for it.
It's like an all-inclusive resort.
Yeah, it's cool.
Eh.
You want to pivot and do a couple questions?
Sure.
Hey, there's a couple of cool tips coming in. First off, the folks on Instagram are quite happy for you, my friend,
Yes.
and they're
lots of
saying
good
all
stuff.
kinds of cool congratulations. There was a question that came in, but you answered it anyhow.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, the folks on Instagram are dealing with busted cars at the moment, and they're not having any fun. And it's one of these things where it's super frustrating because they know how to fix it themselves, but don't have the time to do that because full-time student. Heyo.
Oh, you make a good point, and I want to add something to that. The final payment that we made, and it was partially because I had auto payment set up, and the bank specifically makes it very difficult to make extra payments, was the car payment. That was the final payment that went through. I had to do it over the phone because it was different than the regular monthly payment by like a couple of cents, so they wouldn't automatically charge it, whatever. That being said, now that we're completely debt free,
Hmm.
That car payment now morphs into a car savings.
Nice.
So we're going to be making car payments, but making them into our bank account. So
Mhm.
when it's time, I mean, I've got a 175,000 miles SUV and a 100,000 mile SUV. So when it
Wow.
comes time, I'd hope to get 2 more years. 2 more years at the. We were making a $500 payment, so that's what I'd like to keep giving.
Mhm.
Nice.
Two more
Well, that'll
years
give
at
you
500.
plenty
That's only $12,000. That's not going to be the most amazing, but it's going to be a car that's going to take us to and from work 60 miles a day.
There you
That's
go.
important to note. Tony and I have plans for that as well.
Yeah, we're working on that
And we are
ourselves.
also currently dealing with a busted car.
But in the meanwhile, people on Instagram that are dealing with busted cars, hang in there. I promise you that fixing cars is cheaper than car payments.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mhm.
it
Believe
stinks,
me.
but you'll get there.
This last month, where we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, my AC upstairs goes out, and I
Nice.
have a leak on my brand new doors that we paid off as part of our debt-free thing.
What?
So it's Thursday. I'm teleworking, and I have people coming out to check out this leak that shouldn't be in this back door. And I already had somebody come out last week and fix my AC.
Like,
It's like they know.
wow. Wow. Well, it ain't going to be fun when they're going to be surprised that you don't want to finance that too.
Nope.
A couple other cool comments came in from Instagram. Number one, you're getting lots of well wishes on your trip to Gatlinburg. People are hyped for you there. And also, we have somebody that's watching who's about to get married this month, paid for their entire wedding in cash because they were listening to the stuff that we've been sharing.
Yes.
Which is
Well done.
awesome.
I wish my
Congratulations.
sister-in-law would watch our stream.
Tony and I paid for our wedding as well in cash,
Yeah.
and it feels good. That's the celebration you don't want to be stressed about,
Mhm.
aside from the normal stresses.
Ours wasn't cash, but our budget was super tight, and we took advantage of everything that we had available to us to make it as
Mhm.
affordable as possible. We had a very responsible wedding.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
But you know what, guys? It is 8:45. We've been rolling
Wow.
a little longer than I thought we would. Time flies when you're having fun. Here's my proposal.
Okay.
This is the month. People who just graduated are about to get their first required payment bill to show up in the mail. So
Mhm.
we should help them out. How about next week's episode
Okay.
is going to be all about the details and the tactics of paying off student loans, that kind of thing. We have a couple of questions that were already called in from from listeners
Okay.
to our show. And so we can address some questions next week, give some high level strategy on how to get rid of student loans and other debt.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, we're all qualified to talk about that now. But what do you say? We just leave that as a teaser, and this is what we do for next week.
It's fine with me.
Sounds good to me.
I'm excited.
I'm still drinking my celebratory beverage. So.
Yeah.
Honestly,
hey, we'll
I
hang
feel
out
like
with you, bud.
after the fact, hindsight, we should have spent a whole episode on this, because hearing the success story, like Justin was talking about, is really what helps people get the gumption to do it.
Yeah.
And this is a really cool story, and everybody's story is different.
Yeah,
and
I
so
want y'all to see that picture again too, because I love it.
Bring it up. Bring it up.
that will be my sweet little girl Hadley.
Oh my goodness.
Ugh.
Yes, my wife was like, "Oh, we got to take a picture." I'm like, "Who's gonna take it?"
Come on.
She was like, "We'll do a selfie." I'm like, "How about we just take a picture of the cutest person in the family?"
Well,
And,
she's got such a smile now too. I love it.
and I can only imagine what a motivation it must have been to be thinking about the fact that you're not just investing in the ability for you two to have more fun, but you're investing in that little girl's future.
well, it's funny. There was a contingency, and it was kind of a joke, but in the same instance, I was really pushing for it. It's like, we're not having another kid until we get this debt paid off, because I know how much daycare costs, and that's going to take away from debt payments. So
Yep.
That's a
That
personal decision. Do what you want there. We're not recommending one way or the
no,
other.
no. That was that. Yes. That was a.
Personal.
Hey, we see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's really not that long.
Yeah.
That's money that takes away from the debt payment. Let's get it done.
Nice.
And a lot of people I know I've spoken to who have children are afraid to start down this journey because of what that means. You know, people
Put
are
it
like,
in the budget. Put it in the budget.
just
Make
say
sure they
say,
have fun
say,
budget
I
too.
have kids and they do this and they do that, and I don't want to make them sacrifice per
Mm.
se, you know.
It's
And
a
so
amazing learning tool for them. They
I
are
agree.
never too small to start understanding two things. One, sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
and two, saving money. The
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
only way to build wealth is to save money.
Yep.
I mean, very, very, I mean, we're talking fractions of percents of people stumble on money.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
dead serious.
Luke is
Yeah.
going to learn real fast how to budget his.
Yeah.
We've budgeted this much amount of you for Luke in order to survive, feed you, and give you clothes.
Hmm. I mean,
Here's the
she has a
money.
budget. Oh, you need some extra clothes? That comes out of there. Oh, you like a book? That's coming right out of there. Oh, this little toy here, the dollar bin at Target, this and this,
Yep.
that comes out of your
But-
budget.
Something that's interesting, Tony just brought up to me the other day when we were doing our monthly budget was that evaluating what he needed was really interesting at this point because he's almost 2. And educational toys are like a necessity in his world. You know what I mean? And you would think because it's a toy in your mind is like an adult toy is unnecessary, but those things are still necessary for children. You know, you can't rob them of all those things.
You make me want to pick my webcam up and literally turn it a little bit to see my toys that I have sitting next to me here.
Well, your adult toys.
Right.
Comic books and such?
Yeah, this reminds me of a funny picture I saw on the internet yesterday where somebody said, "This is what my room looks like from above."
Oh,
When
gosh,
when I turn my
Saw that.
webcam on, and it's like this cone of clear stuff on the floor, like you can see the floor, and then the rest of the room outside of the cone is just completely piled in crap, but it's out of view of the camera.
I'm doing it. Here we go.
This is a
Tony
really interesting.
can't see it, but so I have. Look at this. I have statues and Funko Pops. I have original artwork
Nice.
that
Hey,
I got.
question from Instagram.
This is a good one. Opinions on
comic
those who
books.
think
I'm listening.
money sitting in a bank is a waste since a portion of it can be put to investments. This is a very interesting thing. Tony and I have gone back and forth on many a times.
So for us, our plan was have a little bit in reserve as an emergency fund,
Mm-hmm.
then throw everything we can
Mm-hmm.
at getting rid of debt.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, for us, what that meant was actually kickstarting this process by writing a giant check and draining a savings account.
It was a lot
Terrifying.
of money.
Terrifying.
Not a lot. I mean, to me, it was a lot of money.
At the
But
time.
yeah.
Well, even still, it was a pretty big chunk. I'm not talking like $1,000. I'm talking
Yeah.
like we had saved a bunch of money, and Tony was like, "Ready to write that check?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah. But to be fair, we paid off a debt and a half when we started,
Wow,
like
sure.
the first day. And we justified that at the time by saying, well, 2 things. Number one, there's always somebody who will loan you money if you need it back.
Sure.
And number 2, and more importantly, as long as it's sitting there and you're not using it, you are paying interest on it in the form of the interest payments on your debt.
Yeah.
And so it was like borrowing money for no reason. But once you're debt free,
I was gonna say, I think that's what they're talking about. Once you're debt free,
right?
Like I think maybe in reference to maybe Justin talking about putting money away for the car or something
Right.
like that, as opposed to
Yeah, there's a method to that. I mean, so you have to understand your job security. You have to
Yep.
understand what it costs to live in your area per month, things like that. Guidelines: 3 to 6 months of living expenses you should have in something that is instantly accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Then
And that's our emergency fund too, by the
Yep.
way.
yeah, so a savings account, money market account. A lot of money market accounts will give you a debit card that you can instantly use if it needs to be, but it'll give you like 1.5% to 2%. I mean, you're not looking to make money off of your emergency savings account. You're really
Yeah.
not.
And that's okay because the investment you are making is in peace of mind and you get paid it
Exactly.
every single day.
The investment
mean
you're
you can't-
making is in not financing.
And that doesn't mean you can't make investments.
Right.
Once you're debt free and you figure out what kind of an emergency fund gives you peace of mind and where the rest of your money is going, whether it's retirement or what have you,
Mhm.
then yeah, I would put money in investments as well.
Right.
There we go. Can we talk about that for a second? Can we talk next step? Can we do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Before we do, the last little idea that I want to put there is that, and this segues into this, by the way, we call ourselves the Intentional Academy for a reason. Having boatloads of cash sitting around in unlabeled savings accounts for no reason because you're being miserly,
Yeah.
we would not recommend that.
Mhm.
Whether you've got $1 or $70,000, you should have a reason for it. And so we do have money that we're putting away right now to build up that emergency fund so we could survive for 6 months. But that is going to stop, and then we're going to move on to the next stage. So, Justin, why don't you talk about that for a minute?
So you pay off your debt. You're debt free except for your house. Your mortgage is an acceptable debt. It's a very large debt. It's not something that expected to be paid off quickly. That being said, you you've gotten debt free.
Mhm.
Let's start working back because you stopped retirement investing. So let's go put money back into our 401ks. Let's go start fully funding Roth IRAs. Married, I believe it's 45 or 5,500 a person. So I think it's like I want to say it's 11,000 a year for Roth.
Mm-hmm.
And a Roth IRA is great because it allows your money to grow tax free because you've already paid taxes on that money. So once you get to 15% of your income back into investing for retirement, then you worry about your child's education. So you start looking at into your funding, your 529s or your educational savings accounts and things like that. It varies by state.
Mhm.
So you want to make sure that you start working to them. And one of the things that I would recommend for that, and this is a personal, and I've seen it for some people, is have money set aside to help pay for a child's education, but in the same instance, make sure that they have a financial investment in their education themselves because
Mm.
the moment it's given to them, a lot of times it's not taken as seriously. But as soon as they see the dollar signs flowing.
Yeah, I've heard multiple strategies in that regard. I had a friend, my mom's friend, who basically made their children get student loans that they would pay off immediately at graduation based on
You have to graduate.
well, they have to graduate, they have to do well, they have to have a plan, and there needed to be some structure and like you said the child needing to be invested in their education in a serious nature before they would do that. And I think the plan there for them was that they didn't have any interest because you didn't have to pay it until, but they had saved the money for their child as if they had been paying it all along and then basically wrote one big check and paid off all the student loans.
And just off of personal experience, I feel like having an understanding of the expenses and I filled out the FAFSA or the financial aid information for school myself with my dad's help, but I understood how much money was being charged, how much money I was being given, how much money I was financing, and it just made it a lot. It shed light on school is work. It's an investment in my future, and it's not just I had a great time in school. But in the same instance, I understood what I was doing and why I was doing it. So
yeah, making it aware instead of just
But one thing I want to hit on is the fact that we've paid off our debt, we've invested in our personal retirement, we've invested in our children, and I haven't mentioned anything about express payments on our mortgage. That's the final step. Once you get a foothold on your retirement, you start investing in your children's education. Then you can start whatever's left over. You start putting into extra payments on your mortgage and trying to pay that off as quickly as possible.
Saving to actually buy a house.
or save. So the problem. So Nicole, there's multiple methods to go about it. You can go hardcore. And I know you guys are kind of being hardcore about having as much cash as possible to pay on a house. So you can either do that last after you've done all of that and use your savings to buy a house, or you can finish your debt payments, and before you do your retirement, before you do your children education, you could save up your 20% down payment on a
Mm-hmm.
15-year fixed
Mm-hmm.
rate mortgage. That would be and that's an understood finance at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, but we really don't want to go any more than 15%. I mean,
Although
15-year fixed.
I gotta tell you, I learned recently that there are people of various religions who absolutely do not believe in debt. And I had
Strange.
an amazingly interesting conversation with somebody the other day about what it looks like to live in a world where it's never an option on the table, not even for buying a home. And I don't know what the plan is. And so I think that would be a really cool thing that maybe sometime we could interview.
Did you ask at all about how they do housing? Do they just
They
rent
they
forever?
they rent and save up and buy a house in cash. I think is how it works.
I was
Anyways,
watching one of those house shows, and
uh-huh.
one of the places, a country they went, they said there you didn't do traditional like mortgages. The guy felt real weird because he literally had to go to the bank and walk with thousands and thousands in cash. They didn't have checks or anything, and he had to walk from the bank to the place where he was making the buy.
Wow.
Wild, right? So it'll anyways, that'd be a really neat future conversation to have with somebody who's had that
Mhm.
experience. Couple more neat things coming in on Instagram,
Yeah.
actually, in response to the investing in your own education thing. We have somebody who was fortunate enough not to have any student loans, but they regret uh, the fact that they didn't take advantage of all the free money that's offered on things like scholarships. And Justin, I think this goes right back to your point, which is if you don't have skin in the game as a student, you don't
Mhm.
feel very motivated to do that. And I know I am super guilty of this. I never applied for scholarships. I never chased after them. Instead, I slopped trays in the dining hall. I changed oil and I took out student loans because what's $14,000 mean to an 8-year old? It might or 8-year old, 18-year old might as well be infinity. I had no concept for what I was borrowing.
Well, and then you get into the whole mindset of, well, I did 10 grand last semester, so
Right.
they'll give me another 10 this semester,
Right.
and who cares?
And I'm going to
yeah.
be making bank when I graduate, so who cares? No,
Yeah.
you're not.
There
Don't-
is a
Right.
large amount of free money I was given based on the income level of my father and things like that. I had Virginia grant money that was just given to me. The other thing is that as a high school student, I'm going off of personal experience for more than, and I worked at a movie theater,
Mhm.
making money, saving that up. You have extra time, and
Mhm.
there's a sort of our favorite financial person that we always reference said that your child should attempt to apply to 1,000 scholarship opportunities in hope of getting maybe 9 or 10.
Wow. It's like a job, right? But see,
Full-time
here's the
job.
thing that's so interesting. The insight that the person on Instagram is sharing with us is that they're realizing now that there are opportunities that they had in school that they weren't able to take advantage of because they had to work because they didn't chase scholarships.
Mm.
And I just, you know, I wouldn't put regret on there, right? But
Learned
a
experience.
learning experience, right? And so cool that they're sharing it for us to pass on to other people here is there are opportunity costs associated with having jobs when you're in college. Am I saying that having a job in college is bad? Absolutely not. I worked a lot of the time that I was in college.
And kudos to them for working too.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, talk about hustle. But on the other hand, that's one more club you couldn't have joined. And I hate to break it, but colleges don't own knowledge like they did 30 years ago. Anything that we're going to teach you when you come to our school, you can Google that now. Google, that'll be $100. We'll charge them for the endorsements, right? The thing that we still own the monopoly on, right, wrong, or indifferent, is the college experience. It's the opportunity to come and sit in a room with 30 or 300 other people who are also learning that thing you're learning.
Mhm.
And it's the opportunity to join a club and participate in a organization
And network
and go to a football game
Mhm.
or network with faculty and do undergraduate research. It's all the things you're not being graded for that don't count towards your degree whatsoever that are the opportunity now when it comes to going to college.
Yep.
And so I think more than ever, that time is really precious. And if there's anything you can do to protect it,
Mhm.
you should.
And there's one other thing that I'd like to touch on with colleges, though, is that they are invested in your intellectual future, in your financial future, but in the same instance, they are a business that's
Mhm.
pretty much underlying factor is they need to make profit. So
Hmm.
once you understand that any university that is recruiting you, that is recruiting students, is looking to make a profit while offering you a product. So it's a business.
Right.
It's also
Now, to be fair, from tax standpoints, they are nonprofit, but that doesn't mean that they don't have money left over. It's that
okay.
they're using it to invest in,
Yes.
quote unquote development.
Understand that the NFL is also nonprofit.
Right. I mean, you have to balance your budget.
So
Yeah.
so basically their purpose is to get people to come to their school, pay money for their education, take that money and make the school bigger, brighter, more awesome, attract more awesome people, and make it bigger, brighter, and more awesome.
Right.
It's
And
an
so,
iterative
and
process.
right, right.
It's not a negative. I'm not making a negative statement. I just it helps when you understand that the school is making financial decisions at the same time they're also making educational decisions. Sorry. Okay. Well, it's touchy. I
Smash
know,
me.
Tony's employed by a university and things like that. So, I'm not making a negative statement. I'm just making a general statement.
Sure. I think that more than anything, what baffles people is that, when it comes to college finances, it does take a certain dollar number just to keep the lights on, and it's always more than you'd imagine it was. I remember walking through one building on campus at the school that I went to, and for some reason they decided to post a flyer about how much they spent on the power bill that month. $30,000 for one building out of the 150 buildings on our college campus, and their
And
electricity
we had our own power
right
generation company on campus.
on campus. And so it's astonishing when you think about that, because I'm doing the math and I'm thinking, holy smokes, that's at the time I went through, that's 3 in-state tuitions for the year. 3 people in my class went to this, paid for an entire year tuition to keep the lights on for 1 month in this building. And it is kind of wild, but the point there, I think, is just, people can get fairly touchy about college costs these days, and I get that. Uh, you should know that no matter what organization it is, there's never enough, right? And so everybody's trying to vie for their piece of the pie and figure out where that's best distributed. But it's astonishing when you start trying to think of things in these scales, right? It's not as simple as doing the math of, well, I know how many people are in this room and I know how much they paid, so this professor must be making it through the nose. Yeah, not quite. Right. The light
Especially
bill
at a
is
state,
non-trivial.
especially at like a state university versus a private university.
Yeah. But anyways, I feel like we have digressed into an interesting tangent that's going to make the blooper reel.
Oh, we could go on a lot about why schools charge what they charge now. I mean, that's a whole episode in itself.
I don't know. The baby's kicking me,
Uh,
telling me
couch
stop
time for
talking.
couch time for Nicole. Justin, congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
Welcome to the party.
Absolutely. The party just begun, right?
Right? You crushed it. Let me say thanks to everybody on Instagram who's watching us live. We do this show basically every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. You can watch on Instagram at the Tony Farrar. We've also started live streaming this on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Intentional Academy. We would love to have you come hang out with us there Tuesday nights. In the meanwhile, we answer student questions on this show usually. This is a special episode. And so students, recent grads, people looking for career advice, all that kind of stuff, finance questions, we talk about that on this show. And the way we do that is by having you ask us questions. So how do you do that? Find me. I'm at the Tony Farrar on whatever platform you use. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, whatever. Find me. But I'm also pleased to announce that you can just send me a text message. I've got a special phone number that you can use, 931 486 4806. One more time, that's 931 486 4806. You can send me text messages right to that phone number, and we will get back to you pretty quick, but we'll also add that to the queue and answer that question on the show so that as Justin has broken a 5-minute mile today, you too can help somebody break theirs.
Hey, say it one more time.
931 486 4806. Standard text messages, rates apply. Always wanted to do that. This is the Intentional Academy live show. Let's say goodnight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're hearing these words, we made them for you, and we appreciate that you took time out of your life to spend it with us. So from Tony, good night.
Bye.
1 second. No, I'm making it. I'm putting the. I got the phone number and I'm putting it on the slide here.
Okay.
Nice.
There you go. So now there's your questions. Give us a call. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the celebration. I'm excited. Let's get to the saving and the actual fun stuff.
Heyo. One more time, Justin, people on Instagram are saying that they appreciate the advice, the sharing of your story, and are offering you massive congratulations.
Hey, join us on Twitch so you can see the production work that I'm doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, Justin really likes Twitch. You should go check that out if you haven't before, because it's pretty slick.
So,
hey, good
all
night,
right.
Instagram. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.